Hello friends, welcome. In this video, I will introduce you to the Guide to Maritime Security and the ISPS code. I will specifically go into the detailed contents of ISPS code so you can remember it easily for the examination purposes. So let's get started. As we can figure out from the title, it's about Guide to Maritime Security. The first part of the book does just that. So as you can see, this is section 1 introduction, and this is the part of Guide to Maritime Security. This part gives you the purpose, structure, source, maritime security measures, the SOLAS Convention and its amendments, benefits of and challenges in implementing the maritime security measures, maintaining security awareness, etc. And then section 2 is about the responsibility of a government and their national authorities to comply with the maritime security measures as required by this code. This particular part gives everything that a government needs to know to implement the measures as required by the ISPS code and SOLAS chapter 11 part 2. Then section 3 of Guide to Maritime Security tells you about the security responsibilities of a port facility and port operators. Any security papers that you have seen on board, the port usually maintains the similar kind of records like change of security level, declaration of security, security personnel required, restricted areas, etc. Thus, Section 3 is the guidance for the port facilities on the implementation of the ISPS code. And then coming to Section 4 of this guide, it provides security responsibility of ship operators. So, everything that you have seen on board as a security procedure, the guidance of that comes from Section 4 of this Guide to Maritime Security. Similar to the Section 3 port facility, there is change of security level, declaration of security, ship security personnels, and many other chapters providing a complete guide for maritime security. And finally, the last part of this guide, Section 5, explains the framework for conducting the security assessment. Security assessment is about finding the weak spots either on ship or in port facility and guidance in carrying out this assessment, which includes process mapping, inventory development, methodology selection. All this is included in the guide, providing the framework for conducting of security assessment. Then there are two resolutions which are part of the guide. Conference Resolution 1, as you can read, adoption of amendments to Annex to the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. And the second resolution is about adoption of international code for the security of the ships and of the port facilities. And after the complete guide is over, the next comes the ISPS code. And ISPS code is divided into two parts, Part A and Part B. Part A is the mandatory requirement regarding the provisions of Chapter 11, Part 2 of the Annex to the SOLAS as amended. And ISPS code, each part has 19 chapters, and I will go through them. And then finally, after ISPS code part A, which is mandatory, and part B, which is recommended requirement, we have a sequence of conference resolutions which have become part of it. Now let's go through the important contents in a way that you can easily remember it for the exams. So here is the contents of ISPS code. Let me now try and help you in remembering these contents. Imagine that there is a security issue, and whenever there is a security issue, we call the general. So, starting with the general, he explains everything, he defines everything, how the things are going to work. So, thus, there is definition, chapter 2. Then there is a cadet with the general, and he is asking questions which are quite logical. Then he says, okay, sir, you have made this code, you have defined it well. Who does it apply to? Then the general says, everyone. It is the responsibility of the contracting governments that they maintain a security system which is helpful for both the port facilities and the ships which are coming to their country. Then the cadet is asking a doubt, sir, if it's the responsibility of the contracting governments, how are they going to ensure it? And the general replies, to ensure it, they have to declare their security. So, declaration of security, which means the kind of security levels they are maintaining, they have to declare it so that the ship which is visiting it can prepare itself for that. And then the cadet replies, "Sir, this is excellent. It's the responsibility of the contracting government." Does that mean that the company, the ship owner, does not have an obligation? And the general replies, "Of course not. There is obligation of the company. They need to comply with the ISPS code by complying with the requirements of ISPS code." And he explains that ISPS code demands that certain amount of ship security must be maintained first. Then a ship security assessment must be carried out. This assessment is done to ensure if there are any weak spots on the ship, which may make the ship vulnerable to security attacks. And once you have made the assessment of all the vulnerabilities of the ship, then you need to make a ship security plan, which will ensure and provide procedures how all the vulnerabilities can be taken care of. And obviously, once the plan is ready, you need to implement it. And once implementation is done, how do you know that it is implemented? It is through the record keeping. So, next logical step after the plan is made is to maintain the records of its implementation. Then the cadet inquires, how can the contracting government take care of the security of so many ships? And then the general replies, it is not the responsibility of the contracting government, it is the responsibility of the company security officer, the one who's designated. And this officer has to ensure that ISPS code is complied with in all its ships. Cadet further inquires, "Sir, isn't it difficult for the single person to take care of the complete fleet?" Then the general replies, "It's not just one man who's taking care of all the security assessments and implementation. There is a ship security officer on each individual ship. And this ship security officer carries out the training drill exercises on the ship security." The cadet is now happy. Everything seems very logical. Then the cadet replies, "Okay, sir, ships are now secured. How do we ensure that nobody will come from the shore to the ships?" And the general replies, "We have a port facility security system also. For the port facility, also, there is a security assessment that is carried out. Then a plan is made called the Port Facility Security Plan, which is implemented by the Port Facility Security Officer. And further, even they have to carry out the drills, training exercises to ensure compliance with all the mandatory standards of the ISPS code. And finally, the last part is for the verification and certification for ships. Similarly, there's part B to the ISPS code, which is guidance regarding the provisions of Chapter 11, Part 2 of the Annex 2 SOLAS as amended. And as you can see, numbering and naming of the chapters is exactly same, except that this is a recommended standard, so a general is not involved. The first chapter is given to the introduction, then as usual definition, application, and then starting with the responsibility of contracting government, going through the procedure to be followed by the ships, and then the port facilities. And finally, there are 9 resolutions in the end of this ISPS code. The resolutions are like further work by the International Maritime Organization pertaining to enhancement of maritime security. Then resolution 4 is future amendment to chapter 11 part 1 and 2 of SOLAS as amended. Then resolution 5 is about promotion of technical cooperation and assistance. Number 6 is about special measures to enhance maritime security. 7 is about establishment of appropriate measures to enhance the security of the ship, port facility, mobile offshore drilling unit on location, and fixed and floating platforms not covered by Chapter 11, Part 2 of the SOLAS as amended. Resolution 8 is about enhancement of security in cooperation with International Labour Organization. Resolution 9 is enhancement of security in cooperation with World Custom. Then 10 and 11 are about LRIT and human element aspect and shorely for seafarers. Now, having gone through the contents of ISPS code gives you a very clear idea how the things are working. Basically, it's about cooperation between the contracting governments, that they follow a standard procedure. The guidance is available. There are mandatory standards and recommended standards. And from the contents, it is easy to make out that we need to have a ship security system. There'll be an assessment that will be carried out, then a plan will be made, and the implementation is done through the drills, trainings that is being carried out by the ship security officer, who further reports to the company security officer and maintains a record. And similarly, for the port facility, there is an assessment, there is a plan, then there is a port facility security officer who carries out the training, maintains the record, and finally, if you are complying with something, then you must have a certificate. So the last section is given to the verification and certification for ships. I hope this was an insightful video for you. I will continue making more videos on the ISPS code to clarify everything that you need to know. If you have any feedback, suggestion, or comment, then please do write down below. All the best for your exams, and as always, thank you for watching.